miles an hour in the downtown area. This would be in the evening hours, the afternoon hours coming up here on Wednesday. So if you're wondering about the timeline, let me show you a little bit about that. Again, the European forecast model illustrating the yellow here is tropical storm force winds, red for hurricane force winds. We're not expecting any hurricane force winds at this moment in the Jacksonville area, even over at Jacksonville Beach and St. Augustine Beach. Although Flagler Beach is a different story, if you live down south, these numbers will be a little bit more elevated. But we are looking for winds that will be up around 50, 60 miles an hour, and the early 40-mile-an-hour winds would be right around 8 a.m. Wednesday according to Euro. But look at the GFS. They actually bring in the 40-mile-an-hour winds as early as around, say, 4 o'clock in the morning coming up here on Wednesday. So that would be basically late Tuesday night that the impact would be starting to really pick up. So there are three big elements here, and I'm not going to wrap it up here, but we're going to have lots of time to talk about it. It's wind, it's rain, and it's surge. And again, talking about what kind of wind we are going to see, as again, we're going to have some very high surge values in through parts of Fernandina Beach. Now, I think this model just recently updated, so I'll tell you more about the most updated part of it. But I would still think we're in a 4 to 6 foot increase of high tide over there along the beaches. And remember, this is going to be a slower moving storm than Matthew, which means we might get through a couple successive high tides. And that could really exacerbate the flooding, especially in inland locations and along the coast itself. Now, in the downtown area, when we had Irma come through and create the record highest flood in Jacksonville's history, that was Irma. This one's going to be less. Irma was 5.5-ish, and now we're looking at about 2 feet in the downtown area, but that would be probably about it. Here's Exact Track radar, and you can see this eye right there. And again, you can see it's still far, far away from Jacksonville. Tom and Mary, again, that is a spectacular view of what's happening well down to the south of us. And folks in West Palm Beach have just got to be just praying away because this thing is amazingly intense. One of the most spectacular, I could have said that 5 times over in the last 6 years, 8 years. Just amazing, intense hurricanes in the last few years, Tom and Mary.
John, Irma and Matthew both brought tropical storm conditions to our area. Is that correct?
That is correct. And again, we're forecasting that right now. Will we be under hurricane watch? I think we will be. Now, hurricane watch also includes a tropical storm warning. Now, will we be under a hurricane warning like we were with Matthew? That's questionable. We'll have to see. I personally think they will pull the trigger and make us all under hurricane warning, and that would probably be put into effect sometime tomorrow afternoon. And so from the coastal areas, it's all about you folks. Unless there's a massive change in the track, you're going to be directly impacted. And now we're going to split hairs. Is it 50, 60, 80 miles an hour that we're looking at in terms of wind speed along the coast? Those are the finer details that we'll have to get through. But I do know this. You're going to be impacted if you live there at the coast. And the mandatory evacuations are in there. It's because this is a beast. And the beast, if it gets wobbly, and it does sometimes when they weaken, and we saw that with Matthew. It was a good lucky wobble last time with Matthew, and brought us tropical force winds, but if it wobbled west, it could easily bring us hurricane force winds, and we don't want to be in this part of it. Right in through here, this is that high wall region we always talk about, and this is that region where the highest winds are. It's calm right there with blue skies. And I've heard stories about what it's like to be in an eye like this in intense storm. You have funny smells. It is just weirdly dull sounding. The atmosphere has a different quality to it. People could say things about how the atmosphere feels in breathing. It's even difficult because the atmosphere is so low. But again, bottom line is that West Palm Beach northward under hurricane warning, and we will likely be there, I think, sometime tomorrow.
Wow. All right, John, thanks. And real quickly, this just in Camden County, they've just announced that schools will be closed Tuesday and Wednesday.
Duval County Zones A and B will be under mandatory evacuation orders starting at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning.
And we just heard from Mayor Lenny Curry in the last hour. News4JAX reporter Scott Johnson is joining us live. Scott.
Harry, that's the big thing. The mayor has signed this emergency proclamation saying all those low-lying coastal zones, zones A and B, which is your flood zone, you need to start evacuating or getting in that process starting tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. There's a lot that's come out. Tomorrow there will be bad weather. They pointed out that's not the hurricane. That is just a nor'easter that's coming through. And shelters will open starting tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock throughout the city. There's a few places you can go, jacksready.com or 630 City. But the mayor pleading tonight, if you're in a low-lying evacuation zone, A or B, you need to get ready to move out of Jacksonville for the time.
My biggest concern, and this is the third now, is that it could be a person that chooses not to heed the warning and evacuate. This is very serious stuff. This is a very powerful storm. It's very dangerous, and we don't want to lose people unnecessarily. Just heed the warnings. I know this has been a long week because this thing slowed down, and it's been a holiday weekend. Some people may have tuned out, but just if you're an A and B, go.
And there were a lot of other